over the top.
There it is. And he's wobbled again and again. Did Diaz finally put him down? He's come so close so many times. They'll slug it out to the
Best in the business.
Ego. The ego.
That's ego.
Ego hit y'all with another one.
when she's gone.
We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to your live boxing ego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to your live. I don't know, man. I got a question. Devin Haney's resume continues to stink up the joint, or am I tripping? In this video, I'm going to break it down and let you know exactly why Devin Haney's resume might be aging like milk instead of wine. So it should be a good video. Let's get it cracking. Now, really quick, the Haneyacks are not gonna like this video. They're gonna get mad, but I always say this, you can dislike, but you cannot disprove. I do not give a rat's ass who's mad. I speak for the real boxing fans, and I'm here to speak the truth. And I pose real life questions. I don't care if it makes you mad. I don't care if it's your favorite fighter, tough titty. And the conversation needs to be had. So what I'm thinking about is when I'm looking at the resume of, let's be real, I just like to be very transparent. When I look at the resume of Gervonta Davis, Shakur Stevenson, and Devin Haney, right? We'll use them because they're three black fighters, and old media, the resistance, the usual suspect, they all seem to target Gervonta Davis. Gervonta Davis, the biggest out of all of them, right? He can do no right. People say, oh, he's almost 30. He hasn't fought nobody. This, that, and the third, right? And they're always talking about his resume. And it's a lot of times the Haneyacks or Shakur Stevenson fans, right? And that's cool if you're a fan of all three. That's what boxing should be about, where you can, you can appreciate all fighters. But I live in the real world, and we know that's not the case for a lot of people. They are beta males, and they pick and choose who they like. So I gotta make this video, and I gotta explore, because when I hear the Haneyacks, you have Haneyacks content creators who Devin can do no wrong. Every video is about Tank and what Tank doesn't do, or he's retiring, bunch of clickbait. Tank's having tax problems. Tank sucks. Tank hit somebody, hit and run, all this type of stuff. But let's talk the boxing part. People always talking about his resume, but I've sat here 10 toes down with a straight face and told you Tank Davis's resume is holding up, right? Because Pitbull Cruz just dominated on the Manny Pacquiao card. I believe, my party by He just fought. Now, I get it was a late replacement, but he had already held a win over Fierro in a very good fight. So, really, he beat Rolly. He became a champion. He did lose to El Rayo, but El Rayo is bigger than him and chose to box and boxed a good fight. It happens. Pitbull Cruz, that was at 140, But Pitbull Cruz has since become a champion after losing to Tank. Rolly just got elevated, I made a video about it, to a full champion, and he deserves it because Boots left the division and the WBA regular was on the line in the Ryan fight, we knew, and he dropped Ryan and beat Ryan convincingly. So when I'm looking at Tank's resume, I'm like, what are people talking about? Ryan also came back in from the Tank loss and beat Duarte. Duarte just fought on the same card as Regis Prograis, and I'm going to get to him in a second, and JoJo Diaz, the main event. So Duarte was the main event, and he just beat a very game guy in his backyard, Kenneth Sims, who can fight. Kenneth Sims can box. He He definitely ain't no punk, so he holds his ground. He likes to box and bang a bit, mixes it up. Very good fighter, right? Duarte just beat him. Close fight, but, the judges like what Duarte did more. So Ryan beat Duarte by stoppage right after he lost to Tank, and then Ryan beat Devin Haney and destroyed him. Now, you could say, oh, but he tested positive. Now, I don't really want to get into semantics. If you think Osterine made Devin get clipped up in 30 seconds and gave Ryan superhuman strength and timing, then you're on your own. But as it sit, he initially beat Devin Haney and had that performance, right? So what are we talking about? Tank's resume is aging like wine. Now, fast forward to the future. And I got to also talk about this because the Haneyaks, they keep saying, oh, man, they sound like groupies, bro. They'll be like, Devin Haney, he's the youngest undisputed. Like, it sounds like pure fanboys more than boxing fans. Devin is the youngest undisputed. That's great. Good job. Right? But they be like, oh, but Devin fought JoJo Diaz. Bro, JoJo Diaz has looked horrible ever since then. He lost to Duarte, lost to Zepeda. He just lost to Regis Prograis, who did not look good. Now let's talk about Regis Prograis. Devin's only fight really at the flat 140 because the Ryan fight was kind of at a catch weight or whatever. So at best, one of two fights at 140. He got destroyed by Ryan. And then the other was Regis Prograis, who was a champion. And then when you look back, Regis Prograis was a champion and Devin was moving up. But Devin Haney was coming off a Lomachenko fight where he probably had a crunch down to make weight. And Regis did not look good in his fight right before the fight with Devin Haney. And that was a hometown fight versus Zorilla. Since the Devin Haney loss, he's also looked very horrible. You know what I mean? Regis Prograis lost to Jack Kukale and he was getting dropped. He got hurt and rocked by JoJo Diaz, who's definitely not in the prime of his career. You see what I'm saying? And don't get me started on George Kambosos. George Kambosos, this is the guy you beat, and he looks every bit of a one-hit wonder. You know what I mean? He's a great guy. I get that. But what I'm saying is he was coming off split decision draws to Mickey Bay, or split decision wins against Mickey Bay and Lee Selby, who again, Lee Selby is not nice like that to me, right? And then he beat Teofimo. The sky was seemingly the limit, and he never really reduplicated that success. And I'm talking like ever. Like he never had a performance like he did with Teofimo. He fought everybody. You give him courage and warrior points. But Lomachenko stopped him. He allegedly beat Hugo, what's his name, Maxie Hughes. He really should have lost that fight if you're being real. But probably the politics. They were probably trying to make the Lomachenko fight. So they said that he beat Maxie Hughes. He really didn't. And then Richardson Hitchens just cooked him. So it's like none of Devin's wins, like none of them have aged gracefully. JoJo Diaz went on to do nothing. George Kambosos went on to lose a gang of times. And these are the wins. And I got to talk about Lomachenko had one win after Devin beat him. He had like one win with Kambosos and then retired. So he didn't fight Tank and then like beat Tank. That would have been great. If that would have been great to bolster Devin's resume. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. And I gotta be strict and straight to the point because these are the resume names that people are giving a lot of credit for to Devin Haney for fighting. And in the same breath, they're like, Tank ain't fought nobody. When's Tank gonna step it up? Bro, Tank would batter George Kambosos, if I'm being real. Tank would beat Regis Prograis, if I'm being real. Especially the Regis, he don't even look like he has his legs or balance. I'm just being real. You know what I mean? That's why he was talking about fighting bare knuckle and all that type of stuff, right? So Devin Haney versus Jose Ramirez, like Ramirez at a point was a very solid fighter, but when Devin fought him, he fought him at a catch weight and he didn't even look good in the fight. And Ramirez, to me, is kind of way past it, which I said before the fight even happened. So that's just what it was. Because I'm smart in this boxing game, and I understand when a fighter shows you who they are, you have to believe them. You know what I mean? So like when Broner can't really pull the trigger, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm a beat Mikey Garcia, I'm gonna beat Blair Cobbs." You can't really believe it because your recent performances haven't really shown that. You dig? And that's the same thing with Jose Ramirez. He didn't really look great versus Rancis Bartholomew and other people. So he didn't look good with Josh Taylor. So he hadn't really had those crowning moments since the Maurice Hooker fight. You know what I mean? And people want to omit this and somehow anoint Devin Haney's resume as like legendary, and they try to dish on Tank's resume. And we could do the same thing with Shakur. I know y'all don't want to do that. So again, I'm posing the question, is Devin Haney's resume really all that? Like, do you really think his resume is leagues above Tank Davis or whoever else? It don't have to be Tank. It could be anyone else, right? Errol Spence or whoever, right? I don't see it because not a single person you've beaten has went on to do anything. So it's like you got to further expand and expound upon that and think, who are these people when you fought them? Like, was George Kambosos really him? Or was he like a guy who on the given night beat Teofimo and he blew up quick? You know what I mean? And that was that. Because if you were really this decorated, established fighter in the Maxie Hughes fight, the Lomachenko, the Hitchin, you looked bad in all of those fights. Now, the only argument I guess you could make is that Devin Haney, who is not a big puncher, which is why this doesn't make sense to me. But I guess if you want to say Devin Haney treated him and they were so compromised that they were never the same fighter. But to me, that's far-fetched. People who usually like are never the same, that's when you're going through a crazy war, and it's usually big punchers that are doing that. You know what I mean? Like, you fight Artur Beterbiev, you may never be the same. You fight David Benavidez and take a lot of punishment, you might never be the same. You fight Deontay Wilder in his prime, you may never be the same fighter like Bermane Stiverne. You see what I'm saying? So, like, come on, be real. Is Devin Haney, do you honestly feel that his style is punishing these guys so much so? Because it doesn't even make sense. If Devin's style was so punishing for Kambosos, then how did he go 24 rounds with Kambosos when Richardson Hitchens, his first attempt at a Kambosos fight, he stopped him? And Lomachenko, his first attempt at fighting a Kambosos, he stopped him. You know what I mean? You didn't need 24 rounds, they got him out of here. So to be honest, his resume is not really holding up in the long term. Now, I do really like the Brian Norman fight. And he said it himself. He said Brian Norman's not an established champion, so I don't know how much credit will be given based on his own words. I personally give him credit because if you could beat Brian Norman, at least he's a bigger power puncher in a new weight class, and you'll be a 3-division champion, so I respect that. But people were previously saying Regis Prograis was the best name on his resume, and I'm telling you, Regis has looked god-awful in some of these fights, like Jack Kukale and also his fight with JoJo Diaz. There was no reason, like, he got hurt multiple times in that fight. I know he said post-fight he wasn't really hurt, but anybody with an eye who watched the fight, you guys let me know if Regis Prograis looked good. So I don't know exactly what it was, and you know, maybe Regis Prograis was the kind of one-dimensional. I don't know, but none of these fights have aged well. Versus, like, let's say Floyd Mayweather. Floyd fought against Canelo, and then look what Canelo did all the way up until now, and he's still relevant. And so Floyd fought him in 2013. Over 10 years later, Canelo is still relevant, and he's about to fight Crawford in September. Versus, you look at some of these new cats like Devin Haney, and then they're getting all this praise from inexperienced boxing fans and Haney at content creators. And then you really break down the resume and it's like, these aren't legendary names. It's like, you're not beating Lucas Matisse in his prime, Danny Garcia in his prime, Zab Judah, and these caliber of elite fighters, like known elites. You're beating kind of Johnny come lately type of people that they're cool for the moment, but we see over time they're not tried and true in terms of elite. We'll just leave it at that. Let me know what you guys think. We unpack. Live streaming can be tough, which is why I use StreamYard. Click the link in the description for StreamYard, which is an awesome tool that enables you to set up your stream with ease of use. Get great results with live streaming. It's what I use. Stream to social media with ease with StreamYard. Live streaming is here to stay. Engage with your audience using StreamYard. Great way to reach out to your audience and connect. So you need a tool that can do that. If you're new to YouTube and you're struggling to get views, one tool I can provide to you is TubeBuddy. I've been on YouTube over 10 years. I use TubeBuddy daily to crank out videos just like this one that you're watching. Learn how the pros do it with TubeBuddy. YouTube receives a lot of traffic, which also means a lot of creators, a lot of people putting out content. So you need to learn the ropes so you know how to separate yourself, especially if you're new, but even if you're a pro, use TubeBuddy. The link is in the description. Get more views, more subscribers, and a higher click-through rate, so ultimately you can realize all of your online goals. Use my affiliate link in the description and grow your channel fast.